All right, welcome everybody back into our continuing conversation on the greatest common factor. So yesterday, Mrs. Ott walked you guys through how distribution is going to be that multiplication and factoring is the opposite in which we are going to be dividing. But today we're going to take it a step further. We're not just going to look at the numbers themselves or the variables themselves. We're going to look at them when they are combined. So the first step that we're going to look through here is just this distribution. You know this, you've done this. This is nothing new. I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to multiply it by both terms. Well, 3 times 2x ultimately gets you that 6x, and 3 times a positive 5 is going to get you that positive 15. All right, nothing new, nothing world-breaking just yet. But what about when we come over here? I've got 5x times 6x and 5x times negative 7. Well, when I do it this way, notice that that number on the outside of my parentheses now has both a number and a variable. That's what today is going to look like. All right, so first, let's start off. 5x times 6x. Well, 5 times 6 is 30. X times x is x squared, so therefore you get 30x squared, okay? And then you have this 5x times negative 7. Well, 5 times 7 is negative 35, and you still have that x tagging along. So 30x squared minus 35x could be factored down to 5x times that quantity, 6x minus 7. So just like we said before, multiplication is when or distribution is when you're multiplying. Factoring is when you're dividing, okay? So now that we've got the base understanding of how to pull out these greatest common factors, now let's actually do some of these combined together. So 2x squared plus 8x. Well, one of the things that I loved about the way Mrs. Ott taught it yesterday is that she said, okay, well, we're gonna have something on the outside, and then we're gonna have this parentheses like so, and because we had 2 terms in here, we're gonna have 2 terms in here. Same thing applies. So we're gonna go just like yesterday, but we're going to start, even though we're grouped together, we're going to start going individually. So I'm going to look at my numbers first. I've got the number 2 and I've got the number 8. And I think to myself, what number is the greatest common factor of those 2 numbers? Well, in fact, 2 will be that greatest common factor because 1 times 2 equals 2, 4 times 2 equals 8. So we can pull a 2 out right here. Well, we're not done yet. Now we're going to look at this x squared and this x, and we've got to know, okay, well, which factor goes into both of those? Well, the first one's got 2x's multiplied by itself. The other one has 1x multiplied by itself. Therefore, we can pull out that 1x or that lower power. But we're not complete yet because we have to put something inside those parentheses. Well, what am I going to take and multiply by 2x to equal 2x squared? What am I going to multiply to get that? Well, if we took 2x out, we would have to multiply that by x because 2x times x is how you get 2x squared. Same thing goes over here. 2x times what equals 8x? Well, the x's are already good. They're solid. So we just got to look at the number. Well, 2 times 4 equals 8x. So we've got, 2x times 4 equals 8x. So that is a positive 8, which means we have a positive on the inside. So my factored out final answer is going to be 2x on the outside, and then on the inside of my parentheses, x plus 4. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing for this next one. And I'm going to run through this one in the same manner in that we look at our common variables, our coefficients, and then our common variables. Well, first thing I notice when I look at this is, all right, I got 2 terms. So I'm going to put something on the outside. I'm going to have my parentheses. I'm going to have 2 terms on the inside. What's that going to look like? Well, let's look at the numbers first. I got 15 and a negative 20. 15, negative 20. Oh, those are both multiples of 5. So we know that 5 will come out front. And then I've got 2 variables. I've got an x and I have a y. Well, those are not common. That C right there, that GCF, C means common, meaning they're the same thing. X and y are not the same thing, okay? We use them a lot, but it doesn't mean that they're the same thing. So what am I going to multiply? That means that I cannot pull any of those variables out. So what will I multiply times 5 to equal 15x? Well, 5 times 3 equals 15, and then that x must stay there as well. And what am I going to multiply 5 times what equals negative 20y? Well, 5 times negative 4 equals 20. And then we've got that y in there as well, which means that my final factored out piece here is going to be that 5 on the outside, 3x minus 4y on the inside, okay? But we're not done yet. I want to do number 3 with you, and that way I'll leave you with just 5 practice problems on your own. Okay, so I come out down here to number 3. And I see that I've got a 10x to the 7th plus 2x to the 5th. All right, so I'm going to have, and I've got 2 terms here. So I'm going to have 1 on the outside, and I'm going to have 2 on the inside. My job is to find out what they are. So 10, I look at the numbers in front first, those coefficients. I've got a 10, and I have a 2. One number goes into both of those that would serve as its greatest common factor, and that is, of course, 2. It's always helpful when we have even numbers because you know that at least 2 will work. It's a good place to start. Okay, so I've got 2. So I'm good with my coefficients. Now I've got to look at those x's. Well, the first term there, I've got x to the 7th. The second term, I have x to the 5th. If you remember from yesterday, you're going to pull out that x with the lower power. So it's going to be x to the 5th out here. Okay, let me make that a little smaller so you can definitely make sure that it's, or know that it's a number 5. So x to the 5th on the outside. But now I got to know, okay, well, what am I going to multiply all of this by? All right, let's see, 10x to the 7th. Well, let's just focus on the number first. I have to multiply 2 times what equals 10? Well, that would be 5. And I've got 5 x's that I pulled away from it, but I have 7 in total, which means I've still got x squared left on the inside because 5 plus 2 equals that 7, okay? All right, so let's get those little dots out of the way so we don't get confused. And then the last piece here, I've got 2x to the 5th. What do I have to multiply 2x to the 5th by to equal 2x to the 5th? It's not a trick question. Anytime you want to multiply something to get itself, you just have to multiply it by 1. So, because that was a positive 2x to the 5th on both the outside and the inside, I keep it as a positive. So now I have myself, a fully factored 2x to the 5th. Oh, supposed to change my color here. Come on, keep it consistent. 2x to the 5th on the outside, 5x squared plus 1 on the inside. And that's it. So even though you guys haven't done the combined stuff before today, you did each isolated incident yesterday, and now you're simply just putting it together and doing the rest of these problems. So you've got 8 problems total, which means you've only got 5 more to do. So take this time right now to get practicing on that.